Hello, so welcome back to this series. Okay, so in the last video tutorial, what we did was we were able to return this data, but I didn't like the way that it was returned. Okay, you look at this funny data. We have some 111 222. So that's not the way I want it. Okay, so I checked and then I have to change this to what a sock instead of array. Okay, so I save it and then I come back and then I run it and then it works. It makes sense. Okay, so now I'm going to do a similar thing for the get or tax.php and then I'm just coming here and then I'll copy and then save the file here and then change this to tax because that's the table name that we have, and then I think everything is okay. So I'll go there and then come inside here. Okay, and I'll check tax. Okay, and then we have the tax returns to add. So that this makes sense. So like I said before in previous videos, I said this is not a standard way of creating PHP APIs. Okay, if you want to create PHP APIs, I recommend that you use some frameworks like Code Igniter or Laravel to do that. Okay, don't do something like this. This is so simple, no security or anything. If you want to do it for a commercial application. Okay, so this is for just learning purposes to teach you how to connect to PHP. So we have this, okay, and now we want to connect to the data that we get returned here, okay. So to do that, we need we need the HTTP library, okay, which is already added in Flutter package, okay. So we don't need to import anything in the prospect.yaml. So this time what we want to do is also get the scope model, which we've already imported here, okay. We've already imported that here, but we need to use it in the application and then manage the flow of the data in our app. So I'll come into the lib folder here, create a new folder called the scope model. Okay, and then inside the scope model I want to create a new file called the to do scoped model. Okay, got that. And here I'm going to create a class like to do model extends model. Okay, and what I'm going to do is also create a list of to do. The reason I'm creating the list of to do is because when I fetch this list, okay, this list of, let me just go back to the to do. Sorry for the delay. Go back to the to dos. Okay, and then I get this list returned to me. Now when this list is returned to me, I want to save it in the list of to dos that I want to create. And let me show you one thing, okay? Now, when I create something like this is like a variable, and you know that the variables will continue to run in the application whilst, continue to run whilst the application is running, okay? So whatever value that we push into the list will always run, okay? So that's why I'm creating the list here, to just keep that kind of list data when we fetch it. Now I have to import the to do, which was created in the model, if you remember, and I also want to return the to do, okay? So I will just do it this way, to do. So get to do, and I want to get a to do. So I want to return a copy. So this is how you return a copy of a list, because I don't want to touch the original list. So I have this, and then I'm returning a copy of that. Okay. So in this sense, you can also make this because we just have just one line of code here. We can just cut this and then do something like this. Okay, and it's still the same code. Okay, so this is the short form for that because of the only one return thing that we have here. Okay, so now I also want to write a code to now implement the fetch. So I'll just go ahead, void fetch items or fetch to dos. Okay, and then in the fetch to dos, what do I want to do? I want to final I want to fetch the HTTP. Oh, before that, let me just import the HTTP. Import package HTTP. We have this inside that, and we say as HTTP. Okay, so we have this. Now we can now fetch. Okay, so to fetch something in in Flutter using the HTTP, we can just go ahead and do http.get. Okay, so we use the get to now get all the things the data we want from that kind of API. So now the URL will be what we have inside here. Okay, so we have that here. We can copy this one, and then when we come inside, we can just paste it here. Oh, sorry, you have to paste it in a string, like in a string format here. Okay, now so we have this. We can also end it here. So we have this kind of data that we want to fetch. But then when we fetch, we also have to get the results, and that's when we have to use await on this. So we have to use async here before we can use the await here. Now we await for all the data to fetch, and then we can save it in the hot in a variable and then use it. So I'll create a variable here, which is the response that we get. So http.response, http.response. Okay, yep, and then I can say response here, and then I can save it in this file. So for us to see this thing in action, okay, I just have to find a way to connect it to our app, because we've not connected it to our app yet. We've just written a code here. So I'll just create a new model here called the main scope model.that. Okay, and this main scope model is going to be class main model, which extends the model. Okay, and then we have to also import this one like we did in the other one. But then this one is just not any scope model. Okay, because when we create the main model, the reason why we have the main model is that we want the main scope model to have all the scope model that we will create in this folder to be connected to the main scope model, so that we can use the functions or the method in those scope models. I don't know if you get what I mean, but I will just go ahead and then do something. So we want to get access to this um, to do scope model. The reason why we want to get access to it is that when we come into our app where we have the material app, okay, let me just go ahead and do that. And then I'll cut this whole code. I will wrap the material app with the scope model here. And then you can see that we need the model here. And then we also need the chart. The chart can be the material app that we copied. And then I can save it. Let me just put a comma here and save the whole thing. Now you see we need a model here, and that's why we need this main model. Now because we wrap the entry of our Flutter app, okay, which is this one, the material app. This is the main entry, and then when we wrap it with the scope model here will need only one model. Okay, so we created this main model here. Okay, we created this main model code here in order to help us to connect to any other models in this folder. Okay, so now when we connect to these models in the folder, in this sense the to do model, then when we use the main model inside here, then we have access to these methods, even though we didn't create the method inside here. You get my point? So I'll go back here, and then I'll create an instance of the. So I'll go to final, and then in final I'll say let's say main model. Okay, and then I'll go to, let me just call it model. Okay, and then I'll say main model. Yeah, so I have this, and now this time I can also copy and then paste this code here. Okay, so now as long as we have access to this main model, then we should have access to this model also. But we've not connected it because you can see that this is just a main model, and then we can't see the to-do model connected to this. Okay, so to do that, we have to also come here and then create a new file called analysis option. Okay, analysis option dot YAML here, and then in this analysis option here, we also want to write some code. The reason is when I come inside the main model, the way I was going to do this was we ref, and then I'll go to do model here. Now this will throw an error here, okay? And then it's saying the class to do model can't be used as a mixin because it extends a class other than object, okay? So we can't use it, we can't use this class as a mixin. So the solution for that is to create analysis option inside the main directory here, and then we can just write this code, okay? This is the fix for that, and then we can go ahead and then you do this, okay? Mixin. So just write this line of code in your code and not, okay, object ignore. So when I save this, it should fix the error. So now when I go into the main, I don't see the error again. So now I have my main model which is connected there to the to do model, and now as long as it's connected there, I can have access to this method, which is the fetch method. So if I have multiple scope model, I'll connect all of them to the main model, and then everything works fine. Okay, so now I can just go ahead and close this and then close this one too and then focus on this. So now we have this fetch, okay? So let me just go ahead and then print the response that we get, okay? Response, and then let's see what happens. So in the response, I can now go into my code. I can go here. Where's the I want the app here. Okay. And then in this app, I want the home page here. So in the home page, I want to inside the any states here. Any states, I want to write a code here, okay, which will just fetch the thing. So I'll just remove this code. We know that this was added in the last when we were creating the app, okay, so it's not needed. We also don't need this for now. Okay, we need this. So what I'm going to do, let me just arrange it the way I like, and then remove this key. I don't need this key there, and then I don't need this here. I don't need it here. Okay, so this is what we have now. So what I want to do is to just go quickly accept the main model as an argument here. And where is it? I think I have to import it and now come here. This dot main model. Sorry, model. Okay, so now when I pass it there, I can get access to it here. So I come into the app here, and I know I have access to this model, so I can pass it down here. Here, model, and then I can say model. Sorry, model. Now I save it. Now because I have access to the this model here, I can just go ahead and use it here. So this will be widget dot model dot fetch foods to dos. I say foods. Okay, so now I save it here. Now what I want to do is I want to see what I get in the console when I try to fetch it. So I'll clear everything and I'll go back here, and then we know that we are trying to print the response. So now I'll refresh the app and see what we get. Okay, so I think I'm getting an error here. Okay, I will client try and all that. Okay, so now let's do something. So what we are going to do is to wrap this with what, a try catch, so that don't get that kind of error there. We save it and then we have to get a catch here. So that we don't get this kind of exception. Okay, and then I can just print the error. The error. Okay, instead of getting that kind of 10 printed to us, because this exception is blocking our code from running, and that's not what we want. So I'll just go ahead and run it again, save the code. I think I'm having error somewhere. Yep, this, okay, is because it's now outside the try catch. I save it and then now I'll reload the whole thing and see what we get. Okay, let's see. Okay, so this time we didn't get the exception, but we are getting that there's an error here. So you see the error and then saying connection refused localhost. Now the reason is because we have localhost here, which doesn't make sense. Okay, so the solution here is because we this Flutter cannot connect to localhost that way. Okay, so the solution we have to do is to use the IP address of our Wi-Fi. So I'll go and then open command prompt, and then my IP address, I'll do ipconfig here, and then the IP address should be this, I guess. I'll just go ahead and copy this, and then when I come, I will replace the localhost with this one, save it, and now let's try again. Okay, so let's reload the whole thing and see what we get. If it works or it doesn't work, let's see. And I'm not seeing anything. That means there's no error, so I can just go ahead and print um, the response here, and then I can go to response. Okay. So when I save and then reload the whole thing again, I should get the response inside the database. I mean, inside the debug console. Okay, so I have an instance of response. Okay, so we also have to convert the response into from we have to decode it from JSON. Okay, so let's go ahead and then say convert the response from JSON, and that will be what we have to do it this way. We can create let's say final um response decoded, something like that, and then we can just go and JSON that decode. Okay, I just need the JSON imported. Okay, let me just go up and then import it here. So import, and that is in the dot convert. Okay, and now we can use it here, which is where is it? Oh, I don't need this there. So we can go ahead and use JSON dot decode, and then we can go response dot body. Okay, so now I can print the response decoded here, and then I can use response decoded here. Okay, so now when I save and then I reload in the debug console, I should see a reasonable data return. Okay, so let's see. Come on, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now you can see that I have the items here. So you can see that it's first in a list, and then in the list we have a map. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, you see, I didn't add any data type, so I'm just going to add map, and then I'm going to do string dynamic here, and then let's see if it works the way I want it. So let's run. Maybe I'll get an error because of the data type I added. Yep, I'm getting an error. So I have to use it as a list here. So list here, and then I can put this one inside, and then let's run it again and see. Let's see, because we have to make sure that it matches the data type that we are returning, and I'm still getting the same error because it's saying it's list of dynamic, and I'm trying to do list of map string. Okay, so I can just go ahead and just put it dynamic this dynamic there. Okay, so just let's put dynamic there and save it. Okay, run the whole thing again and see what we get. Okay, and then we get the list returned to us. So now I also want to loop through the list. Okay, so that is response decoded. Okay, dot for each. Okay, and in this sense I'm using the for each here, and then this will be the element. Okay, the element, I want to just name it as data here. Okay, so in this sense I can also print the data and see the data return, and then I can also save this and then remove this line of code. I don't need it again. So save it and then run, and let's see what we get. Okay, so we have the list of data returned to us. So we have this kind of data, and now we have to find a way of getting the items from this. It looks like a map. So let's see if we can actually um display just a single data. Okay, so I'll just come here and then I will come inside the data. Just use this. Okay, data, and let me say I want to print the to do info. Okay, in this sense, just the to do info here, and then let's save, because this is not looking like a map, so it's a kind of confusion. Okay, and let's see, I'll get an error, I think so. Okay, I didn't get an error, so I get the to do info here, and that makes sense. Okay, so that's how we get the information. Now when we get the information, we have to create a to do. Okay, now we know that we have access to this, so now if I want to print the ID and then run, I will see the ID inside. Okay, so let's wait for it. Okay, so you see I have the ID returned. So now we have the to-dos being returned to us. So if we have the to-dos returned to us, when we go into the scope model, we know that we have this to do, we have the ID, the task ID, and this. Okay, so now when we fetch the data and then we decode it from JSON, and then we get the list of dynamic data, which is a map. Okay, because I was thinking it wasn't a map, but it's a map now. So what we can do now is to create a new to do here, to do object here, and then I'll call this to do, and inside to do here. Okay, and I have to fill the spaces, which is the ID. So with this ID, I can just copy this. I don't know if you get what I am trying to do here. Okay, and then I also want the tax ID, which will be this tax ID, which will be this tax ID. Save it. Okay, and then we also need the last one, which is the to do info, which will be data to do info. So now we have this returned to us. So we once we loop through, okay, we loop through the list return, we create objects, okay. And whilst we create the object, we want to also add the object to the list of to-dos that we have. So we come inside still inside there for each, and then go into the to-dos dot add, okay, and then we add the to-do to it. We add a single to-do to it. So now in outside, I want to print the final what to do, okay, and see what we have to do. Okay, so I'll just delete this one. I don't need this. So I have only two print statements, which is one for the error and one for this. So I'll save it again and then go into the debug console, reload the thing, and see what we get. So I'm hoping that with this, I get the to-dos inside this. So let's see. So now you can see that I have it inside. Now it's saying I have an instance of to-dos. Okay. So that means now I have access to this. So if I access one to be, let's say the first item, and then I say get me the to-do info, it should show me one item that way. So now let's come in. Sorry, come on. Yeah, now you can see that I have the first item, which is buy some vegetables. So that makes sense the way we want it. So I will just comment this line of code here. And then when we come back in the next video tutorial, we will add some code to this place. Okay, even though this is working, but we also have to add some more code to this before we actually go into the front page and then add it to our list of to-dos. Okay. So I will see you guys in the next video tutorial. Thank you.